Your ancestors never once brushed their teeth. No toothbrush, no toothpaste, no floss, no dentist. Not for hundreds of thousands of years. And yet, if you dug up their skulls, you would find something that feels impossible. Rows of strong teeth with barely a single cavity. No brushing and almost no cavities. It sounds like a cruel joke on everyone who has ever gripped the arms of a dentist's chair. So what did they know that we do not? Did they have some secret trick for perfect teeth? The truth is stranger than any trick, and it says something uncomfortable about the way we live now. Because your ancestors were not doing something clever. You are doing something to your teeth that they never did. Their healthy teeth had almost nothing to do with cleaning them. They had everything to do with what went into their mouths. But to understand it, we have to clear up one myth first. Their teeth were not actually perfect. If you looked closely at a hunter-gatherer's teeth, you would notice they were often ground almost flat. Their food was tough, gritty and full of sand, plant fibers and tiny bits of stone from grinding it. Chewing all of that wore their teeth down like sandpaper. The very old sometimes chewed their teeth right down to stubs. So their teeth were battered. But battered is not the same as rotten. Where is your teeth being sanded down from the outside? A cavity is your teeth being eaten away from the inside by acid. And it was cavities, those deep, painful holes, that were almost completely missing. So the real question is not why their teeth were flawless. It is why they barely rotted. And that comes down to a tiny war inside your mouth. Right now, your mouth is home to billions of bacteria. Most are harmless, a few are not. One in particular is the villain of this whole story, a tiny bug called Streptococcus mutans. This bacterium has one favorite food, and it is exactly the same as yours. Sugar and the starches that quickly break down into sugar. When you eat sugar, these bacteria feast, and as they feast, they pour out acid. That acid sits on your teeth and slowly dissolves them, eating out the little pit we call a cavity. So a cavity is not really dirt at all. It is the waste of bacteria that you have been busily feeding. Which means the single biggest thing deciding whether your teeth rot is not brushing. It is how much sugar and starch you hand those bacteria. And here is the key. For almost the entire human story, there was hardly any sugar to be found anywhere. Think about what your ancestors actually ate. Meat, fish, leaves, roots, nuts, wild plants. Almost none of it was sweet. No sweets, no bread, no soda, no sugary breakfast cereal in a box. Honey was the closest thing to a treat, and it was rare, dangerous to reach, and gone within a season. So the bacteria in their mouths were half-starved. Little fuel meant little acid. Little acid meant very few cavities. It was not that our ancestors carefully protected their teeth. It is that they never launched the attack in the first place. Their clean teeth were simply a side effect of a diet with almost nothing sweet in it. But before we hand the hunter-gatherers a trophy, there is a twist that proves the whole point. Not every ancient group had good teeth, and the exceptions give the secret away. In a cave in Morocco, scientists found the remains of hunter-gatherers from about 15,000 years ago. These people lived long before any farming, and yet more than half of their teeth were riddled with cavities. What went wrong? They had found a wild food packed with starchy carbohydrate, sweet acorns, which they gathered and ate constantly. Suddenly the bacteria had all the fuel they wanted, farming or not. And the cavities came flooding in. This is the proof. It was never really about the calendar, or farming, or brushing. It was always about one thing, feeding the bacteria. And soon, almost every human on Earth would start feeding them. If you love having an everyday mystery like this cracked wide open, take a second and subscribe. Curio does one of these every single day. Now, back to your teeth. About 10,000 years ago, humans did something that changed our mouths forever. We began to farm. Farming handed us a flood of grain. Wheat, barley, rice. Starchy, soft and endlessly available. And starch is just sugar wearing a disguise. The moment it hits your mouth, it starts breaking down into the exact fuel those bacteria crave. Scientists can actually watch this happen. They read the hardened plaque on ancient teeth like a diary of what people ate. In a landmark study, researchers compared the last hunter-gatherers of Europe with the very first farmers who came after them. The farmers' mouths had transformed. Far less variety of bacteria, and a sharp surge in the cavity-causing kinds, led by our villain Streptococcus mutans. The price of a reliable food supply was paid in aching gums and rotting teeth. Farming fed our villages, and it fed the bugs in our mouths. But as bad as farming was for our teeth, the very worst was still thousands of years away. For most of history, sugar stayed a rare luxury that only the very rich could ever afford. Then, only a few hundred years ago, plantations and factories made sugar cheap, white, and suddenly everywhere. Refined sugar is rocket fuel for Streptococcus mutans, pure, sticky, and never-ending. Our ancestors gave the bacteria a few scraps. We hand them a banquet 3 times a day. This is when cavities went from a rare nuisance to something almost everyone got. The modern mouth of decay was born in just the last few centuries. In the space of a few thousand years, we went from barely a cavity to nearly all of us needing a drill. Your dentist is not fixing some natural flaw in you. Your dentist is quietly cleaning up after a very modern diet. So were our ancestors completely helpless once cavities finally appeared? Not at all. They fought back, surprisingly early. Long before toothbrushes, people cleaned their teeth with chewing sticks, frayed twigs rubbed along the teeth. Some cultures still use them today. They used toothpicks and rinses and all sorts of clever little tricks to keep their mouths clean. And here is the part that stuns most people. Ancient humans performed real, actual dentistry. In Pakistan, teeth were found with tiny, neat holes drilled into them using stone tools around 9,000 years ago. In Slovenia, a cracked tooth was found filled with beeswax, roughly 6,500 years ago, the oldest known filling anywhere on Earth. The moment cavities became a problem, humans began inventing ways to fix them. We have been at war with our own sweet tooth for a very long time. So here is the real answer to how your ancestors kept their teeth. They did not have better willpower or some secret routine. They simply lived before the flood of sugar and starch that now bathes our teeth every single day. Their strong teeth were not a reward for good habits. They were a gift from a diet that never once fed the enemy. And your cavities are not really a sign that you are lazy or dirty. They are a sign of how much sugar the modern world pours into you. It is a strange thought. In this one narrow way, a caveman who never saw a toothbrush had a healthier mouth than a modern king. Brushing still matters, of course. But the deepest defense your teeth ever had was simply far less sugar. So the next time you bite into something sweet, picture the tiny feast you are laying out, and the ancient little war it restarts. Your ancestors won that war by never starting it. Stay curious.